But to kick off the discussion, we've got a great panel that's going to be talking about fashion intelligence, the insights on fashion, on lifestyle business. On our panel this morning, we have Shilpi Sharma, Head of Design and Style Hub at Shoppers Stop, Sharad Walia, Brand Director, Park Avenue at Raymond Apparel. Guys, feel free to come up anytime. There we go. Manisha Agarwal, Head of Human Resources at Puma. Abhishek Yadav, Design Head, Spiker Lifestyle. Narendra Kumar, Designer and Creative Director, Amazon Fashion. Sanjay Shukla, Triberg Sportswear. Rohit Aneja, Director, Marketing and Business Development, Paragon Apparels, Alsys. And Sartaj Mehta, Design Director, Pepe Jeans, London. And to lead the discussion and to moderate the panel, I have Devanshu Datta, founder of Third Eyesight. Devanshu, all yours.
Thanks, Anish. Am I audible? Yeah, thank you. So we're missing a couple of people. Narendra Kumar is on his way, and he should be here with us very, very soon. Sanjay Shukla sends his regrets. An urgent work commitment came up. But we still have a fairly distinguished, experienced, diverse panel. And one feature that I thought I should mention is that they're all NIFT alumni. This session, okay, so there are a lot of NIFTians in this room. This session is being, partnered with by the Association of NIFT Alumni, NIFTA, and I just thought I'll take just 3-4 minutes to introduce NIFTA to all of you. It's been 30 years since the first batch of NIFT graduated, and this was the first design batch. And this year, the alumni body of NIFT should touch about 30,000. And that's a humongous number for any institution to have. People are based in India, outside India, across the world. It's an wild guess estimate somebody put up that perhaps about $150 billion of business is managed in some form or the other by NIFT alumni. So all of the NIFT alumni or NIFT students in the room, can you raise your hand? Plenty. Yeah, me too. Okay. So, yeah, because it is a pioneering institution, I think we're still kind of reaping the benefits of that, and the industry will continue to reap the benefits of that over the years. The association itself was, can you just run the slides if you don't mind? The association was formed, unfortunately, too late in the institution's life, but it has been active in getting alumni together. We are essentially focusing on, so technology is not at our friend today. Can you go to the next one, please? It might be something as simple as the cell having run out, but you never know. NIFTA was formed essentially to bridge the gap, which would include all streams, all campuses, all years, and actually use the weight, the humongous influence that NIFT alumni have together to actually change both the institution, the mother institution, as well as the industry for the better. So there was the NIFT and industry linkage, which many people felt was weak. There was the institution itself, which needed to be strengthened further. And students are constantly looking for projects, they're looking for internships, they're looking for jobs. So the idea is that the association would actually work towards multiple things. Yeah, this is too small to see, but we signed an MOU. The association signed an MOU with the institution last year, formal MOU. And this year, in fact, NIFT has instituted a new curriculum. They completely redesigned the curriculum, which NIFTA had a role to play as well, apart from other alumni and other industry people as well, where it's essentially catching up to the 21st century, if you like. So all of you who are currently studying in NIFT, may already be feeling some of the benefits or will see the benefits soon. But certainly the intake classes which have started from last year will see the benefits of a much more diversified curriculum, a much more industry-oriented curriculum, the possibility of actually choosing your streams in a way which allow you a broader exposure. And that's something which is also an outcome of active alumni involvement and influence. And we'll be organizing a few other things which you'll see over the next coming months in terms of mentoring series, both group mentoring as well as individual mentorship, project incubations. So there's a variety of things which the NIFT alumni body is looking to do. The success of any institution, actually, if you look at, worldwide, whether it is IITs in India, IIMs, or you look at Harvard or MIT or Caltech or whatever, the alumni have a very, very strong role to play in the prominence of the institution, the continued prominence of an institution and its impact on the industries that they work in. NIFTA is an organization which is looking to do this actively. So all of you who are not yet formally NIFTA members, I would urge you, go to the website, niftalumni.org, and please sign up and get involved more actively. So that's my few-minute pitch for NIFTA. Can we go to the next presentation, please? But a round of applause for all of you and NIFTA alumni in the room for being here and for being involved. So we have a topic which is actually, it reflects upon each and every business in the room. How to build a powerful fashion business. There are many aspects to it, and in fact, Anish actually mentioned in his introduction some of the points. There are some fundamental principles which actually impact the profitability, the sustainability of a fashion business, the scalability of a fashion business. The people on this panel actually represent, in many ways, different aspects of the industry and different brands which are addressing different segments, different life cycles in the fashion cycle, different parts of the life cycle, and each of them will have their own perspective on some of the 6 principles that we're talking about, which are first mover advantage, fashion today, not tomorrow, width over depth, customer research, end-to-end tech, and brand experience. We'll take these a step at a time. I'll need another clicker, I think. Yeah. So I'd just like to start with a flashback, and I'm talking about the demand to delivery. Each business in retail responds to a demand, creates a demand, and that cycle of demand to delivery is something which the fashion industry is supposed to be very good at. And I'd like to take you through that. This was work which was done in the early 2000s with a fairly prominent Indian company whose lead time from concept to delivery at that time was 8.5 months. How many of you here in the business have a lead time from concept to delivery of more than this at the moment? Nobody? From raw concept to delivery in the stores. Okay. There's Sartaj raises his hand very reluctantly, and yeah. So there are still some companies which have concept to delivery lead times which are longer than this. We looked at actually how to crash this, and I've got to point it in the right direction. I'm not sure where it's going. Yeah, there you go. We crashed it to 1 month, and that was a significant benefit. The fundamental reason for seeking something like this is very simple. We talk about fashion forecasting, we talk about trend forecasting, we talk about reading the market. The fact is that there is not a single person in this room, let alone in the whole world, which actually, who can actually read, who can actually tell you exactly what's going to happen 8, 9 months, 12 months, 14 months down the line. Nobody knows. not the best astrologer, not the best crystal ball gazer, not the best AI with machine learning built in, can tell you exactly what's going to happen a year down the line. And therefore, the closer you are to the season, the closer you are to the selling window, the better it is. So if you can respond quickly, if you are seeing a trend which is emerging in the market, and you can respond very quickly to it, that's the best. And the shorter you can make it, the better it is. So this work actually resulted in a case study which for vanity reasons, how many of you have read this case study? Nobody in the audience? Please go ahead and read the case study. Thank you so much. But I wrote this case study in 2002, yeah? And then in 2004, exactly 15 years ago, at the India Fashion Forum, it was called the Images Fashion Forum at that time, I talked about this case, which was built around Zara. And there were learnings from that, which actually are in these 6-pointer as well. And the funny thing is, when you look at these pointers, they're very basic. So there is 2 parts to the case study. One is the basic Zara business model, and the second part actually is the relevance or the applicability to India. And these principles are very, very basic, and we'll talk through some of these as we go through the discussion. But most companies are not able to apply those. So this is my last slide for this section, and then we'll go to the discussion. When I started my career with a retailer, at that time the largest chain in the country, our normal demand to delivery cycle was 1 to 3 months, which you would say is pretty good, right? But even 3 months was too long for us. So there was a vendor which I identified in Mumbai, and we had a sales cycle, we had a demand to delivery cycle of 3 days at the end of it, where basically the sales update would be fed to the vendor on Monday, and by Thursday evening or Friday morning, we would have stocks on order in the store to respond to the demand, to the trend which we were seeing. And this was in 1991. So while our business was computerized and all that, the vendor was not. There was no advanced forecasting, there was no machine learning. It was in the process, it was in the way of doing things, and that's what we had to challenge to get to 3 days. So if it was possible 30 years ago, it's surely possible, more than possible today. And I think that's something which I'd like to explore during our discussion today. So there are 6 themes, as I said. First mover advantage, fashion today, not tomorrow, syncing with what customers want right now, width over depth, customer research, end-to-end tech, and brand experience. And these are 6 very, very critical issues or areas that you need to think about. So I'd like to open this question to the panel, and please share from your experience, from your brand, and from your previous experience as well. When you're looking at the issue of first mover, how critical do you think being a first mover in the market with a particular trend is to your business? Whoever wants to start. Sathaj?
See, typically the world is changing at a very fast pace, and we do realize that when we showcase our collections or when the consumer is able to preview it, first mover advantage does make a lot of difference. It becomes a pull factor than a push factor. So I think the businesses going forward with the digitization on such a huge and massive scale, the pull factors will become very, very important to push factors. So what happens in a pull factor? Pull factor, your consumer is far smarter today. The consumer understands what is in trend. Consumers want to be in the present, especially the young consumer. They really are people who are changing. So whenever you are able to launch, which is in line with the emerging trends, then that kind of first mover advantage does bring in a lot of consumer to your stores. The product trials go up, and then they start imbibing your brand. So I think it definitely, kind of creates a psychological behavior in the buying. So that's how it kind of works.
Anybody else? Sharad?
And I'd like to give an example of the current business. So I manage a brand called Park Avenue. And I think it's best explained if I give an example. So we are a predominantly formal brand. And about 4 seasons ago, we spotted a latent demand in the market for knitted suits. And the acceptance of that was far and few. And we were kind of the first ones to launch that in the market. And I think the point that Sartaj made, I agree with him. I would probably just try and add one more point. I think the first mover advantage might not yield the direct amount of results that, a brand would measure. I think the first mover needs to be followed up with another season to really, gauge what you have, because at the first time when you launch a new concept, and let's talk about India only, the acceptance is so low that, you are tempted as a brand to drop it. So I think first mover advantage is important, but I think sustaining that first mover advantage for a period of 6 months to 1 year is important. So in the current example that I was trying to give you, the real, taste of success we really started to have is after 2 seasons. So really, we launched it in let's say, January of 2017. And it's now in 2019 that we're really, tasting that fruit of success. So, I think that's the point that I was trying to make.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Devanshu for inviting me for the talk. Second thing, what I would like to compliment about Devanshu is when he presented 10, 12 years back, he looked the same.
Thank you so much, Shilpi. So
Yeah.
did you.
So what I can say about fast fashion is it is very important to know your market. You know what segment you are dealing in. There are segments who may not respond to fast fashion immediately. For them, it could be ahead of they will not relate to it since it's too early for them to, adapt onto. But at the same time, if you are at a premium end where, people are looking at trendy clothes from your brand, it is important to have fast fashion lines, and you have to really talk about them, make them visible. Doing small quantities of fast fashion, getting hidden in the display will not work. So it is equally important to talk about fast fashion, to try to grab the attention of the customers. And certain times we have also seen the fast fashion sometimes, do not really click with the customers. They really find it not happening with them. Till the time they get educated, they see it happening at the fashion weeks, or they see it happening in various media, and they quickly, get onto it. So it's a mix of talking about fast fashion as well as bringing it onto the floor at the right time. So this is my understanding that we should be, balancing it out with the product as well as the talking point on it.
So let me just follow on with your comments, and this next point really is about fashion today, not tomorrow, where you have to be in sync with what the consumer is wanting. So there is an element of leading the market. So the first mover advantage is that you're leading the trend. But is there really a disadvantage in being a fast follower as well? The first follower, if you like, or the biggest follower. Is there any disadvantage, do you see, or is that an advantage? Because somebody else has created a trend, and then you're following quickly.
I would say if you have an understanding of your market, you can decide to be the fast trendsetter or a fast follower. The markets which I have been associated, I would like to be a fast follower where, the new trends are actually known to the customers, that these are the trends which are happening internationally. They are really on the Instagram, they are really on the Facebook and social media, and people are looking for it. That time I would like to bring it in. If I'll bring it in early, I have burnt my fingers where, things have straight away gone on to discounting because people have not responded to it. So fast follower is also a very, very important point which I would look at.
Abhishek, how does it play? Oh, Sataj, you want to take it up?
Yeah, see, a lot depends on the relevance. For me, if you look at apparel business, it has 3 very big components. One is core, essentials, one is fashion, and one is fad. So it's depend if you're caught between a fad and fashion. You got to understand very clearly, fashion is relevant, fashion is today. So if you push fad as a fashion, then there's a problem. That's what I think Shilpi is saying. But the way times are changing, it is impossible to stay back after some time. You look at what has happened in shoes. Look the kind of shoes we used to wear 10 years ago, and look what is happening to shoes. The most fashionable article in your wardrobe is a shoe today. And all 3, 4 big brands have been kind of chasing to bring in new products all the time, and it has been really caught up so well. So I think everybody is going through, and it's happening to apparel also. So I think the trick is to balance between fad and a fashion. That's where you kind of
So I,
Yeah.
Hi. So I think what I want to add here, I think all the points very, very relevant. Of course, being first gives you that advantage, and being a fast follower as well keeps you still ahead of the race. And I, having worked with a brand for many years now, which is known to be fast and known to be forward and known to have this, urge to be always the first mover, can say a few more things on this. I think with being a first mover or a fast follower also comes the ability to take risk for an organization. Because obviously you do 100 things and probably, you'll fail at maybe 50 and only 50 will go forward. So while it's great to have this feeling of being always the first mover or the fastest follower, an organization should also know that when you have that mindset, you will sometimes fail. So also have that risk, also have that appetite to take that risk of ideas that might not go forward. So that's something that I think we all as organization heads, heads of functions should know, that when we lead that kind of culture, we should also have that appetite.
I would like to add to her point that it's the appetite for taking the risk what we are talking about. If we look at the fad curve, the bell curve, what is there, it's a very sharp curve. Getting early is, if we get late, it's worse, but getting early is also bad. So depends on what we want to, what we want to talk, what we want to prove. Basically, if as a brand, if we want to stand by, okay, we are the one, we are introducing fashion, great. But if we want to do business, we have to take that the highest peak of the curve. And I think it's the right thing, getting the right trend at the right time is what we are here. I think everybody is, what I understood, is talking the same thing.
So, yeah, timing, of course, how do you get the timing right is the question, really. So, Rohit, you want to add something to that?
One assumption which we are making in terms of fast fashion is the fact that we are assuming the homogeneity of the consumer. While in the markets, it's actually heterogeneous. Most of the markets, even within India, are not so homogeneous across the market. So we are assuming that when you say fast fashion, even in European markets like Zara, they operate in a limited, I would say, as a universe in the market, very limited areas. So what sells in Scandinavia would be different from what sells in fashion countries like Europe, other European countries. So we have to kind of should look at more heterogeneously at the consumer and have our fast fashion followers or designs more appropriate with the consumer from different areas.
So what you're saying is that I'm going to relate the 2 points. Manisha made a point about risk, that you have to have the capability to take the risk. But what you're saying is you also have to mitigate the risk. You have to actually manage it. And in that sense, don't make all things for all people. Make it custom, segment-specific, market-specific. Have more width rather than just pure depth. Just don't go for the numbers.
That's the whole concept of being local. Be global, but you have to be in sync with the local. And also another area where a lot of brands where we operate in, like in the sportswear market, they do have a main percentage of their range, which is a core range, like some of the ranges sell for 3 years in the same with no changes. Maybe the technology, maybe the what you wear, that changes from time to time, from season to season, but the basic core of the business, black and gray, selling throughout the 3 years. We have seen with brands like Adidas or with the other European sportswear brands, Uniqlo sells more or less similar fashion for almost a lot of times, except that the technology keeps on evolving.
So I'm just going to put the question across to the 2 gentlemen sitting on the other side. So Sataj, you're with an international brand that has a certain kind of a ethos that has a certain kind of handwriting. And Abhishek, you've got an Indian brand, homegrown, built for the market. I'd like to hear your perspective in terms of the product development, responding to trends or setting trends, and how constrained do you feel or how free do you feel in terms of reading the trends and responding to them?
See, I think something very interesting happens in apparel market. How many safe bets we lose, there's no data on it. My least booked collection was the best seller, and my best booked collection was the worst seller. So there's typically no data on the lost sales when in an organization there's a design which leads the product, then there's a commercial aspect to it, and then there is a buying team. So typically, depending on the organization to organization, a different scenario emerges. Okay, and now when Devanshu talked about our international brand and the kind of signature we have and kind of challenges we have in a regionality where you operate. See, India is typically around 28 geographies and different economies and different kind of formats where we work on. And so typically we follow a global handwriting, so to say, but we also look at a lot of regional trends, which are trends which are emerging, things where you are balancing fashion, you are looking at different channels to create a range where your buy-ins also do happen, and then there's the consumer also at the back of your mind. So we get an opportunity through our retail stores to do flash lines. This is what we started a year and a half ago, that we realized that for me, the consumer is important. The buying team, the merchandising team, the sales manager really doesn't matter because they come from the past. And what you're looking at is the future. So we get caught in that scenario. I'm sure Abhishek would also have his own.
I agree to what he's saying.
So it's a very complicated situation which you need to handle. So this gives us an opportunity to actually go direct to consumer. And we realize when we go direct to consumer in our flash lines, again, you need to learn how to balance a fad and a fashion. You really do well. And if I give you another example, which is not apparel, I'm sure you all have heard about Nokia and Blackberries. I wish they understood smart fashion. And if they did understand trends, they would have not been where they are. So it's a very tricky situation. You need to understand balance. You need to capture trends in a very right way. So I think the challenges we have for a global brand, where you have to carry the global heritage and yet glocalize it. That is global and local. That's how we work.
Okay. Abhishek?
I agree to what he's saying to the most of the extent, because being a Indian brand in that segment, in fact, even from north to south and east to west, there are different kinds of demographics and everything. There's a different taste to the consumer, and things vary a lot. So we have to basically keep in mind once we are making our range as per that.
So what you're saying is that you need to have the capability to actually respond to the consumer, to the customer. And the question really is, are businesses geared to respond? But before that, the question is, what are they responding to? Are they actually listening to the consumer? Are they actually listening to the market? Are they seeing the market?
See, it depends. If you are in an evolving business and an evolving brand, somewhere you are responding to consumers in terms of you are believing in new trends and somewhere you're still taking safe bets. So it depends on how your business is being managed. But because of digital economies and digital fashion, the rate at which sensibility of the consumer is changing is very, very high. And I think companies are equipped to respond. It's a question of mindset. It's not whether they are equipped or not. If the mindset is there, then obviously there are ways. So you can very well come down from a 12-month cycle to 8 month to 6 months, and you can break your businesses in different, can have different aspects. You can have some percentage of business which is 12 month, some which is But I fundamentally believe that fashion is very relevant and you have to remain relevant. So whether you call it fast fashion or relevant fashion or whatever you say. Otherwise,
Nari, I'll bring you in on this, and you've got two hats you wear, apart from the third one that you're wearing right now. Amazon, behemoth, retail behemoth, on one hand, you've been involved with that as creative director, and you have your own line as well. You've been a designer for the last too many years. How do you read the market and how do you read the consumer? Are you setting the trend for them, or are you looking at understanding them and then kind of feeding into that?
First of all, apologies for being late. My flight got delayed. I came in from Bangalore. The thing is, I think it's both an opportunity and a learning. Opportunity, being Amazon is you have data at the very micro level, and every second you're analyzing the data to see what is selling, and really how quickly you can respond to that is what you're looking at, And like you said about the cycles that are there in fashion, the cycles are 15 days and 20 days today, If you can get quick stuff, you need to be seen as someone in the front-running kind of stuff. You need to really, use what you get to be able to be upfront, but volumes come from different places, And for a brand to create its identity, it needs to be seen where it's working. Is it working in the evergreen space? Is it working in the kind of fashion-forward space? A lot of opportunities right across the width. But for me, as an individual designer, I think that we are at a cusp of a wonderful opportunity with a millennial consumer that is going to redefine what fashion and what brands mean over the next 5-7 years. You've seen that one cycle of brands happened like about 10 to 15 years ago. This is the beginning of a new cycle of brands. And people who can respond to the new consumer in the sense of not only just fashion trends, I think it is more the mindset, issues around sustainability, issues around environment. How do we build those values into the brands that we are creating are really going to be the brands that will define the future. You look at what's happening in schools across the world. Kids are protesting against the environment. They are the people who are the most active when it comes to what we are doing and how we are preparing the world for them over the next 30 years, And brands that talk to that crowd and that mindset really, for me, are going to be the brand leaders of the future.
Thank you so much for that lead-in to the second part of the discussion that I'm just going to come to in a few moments. But I'd like to add a couple of questions to the panel. One is, how critical do you think is technology, embedding technology in the process in your business? How critical is it to the success of your business, to the very survival of your business, let me put it that way. Just show of hands, poll, out of 7. Okay, so all 7. So in what ways, just maybe Manisha, you can talk about it. In what way do you think technology has played a role in the success of the brand?
So I think the question that you asked had only a yes or no answer. So I think, and no was not a choice. From Amazon, if you have to take any cues, technology is embedded into everything that we do. Coming from a people function, I have to say the two main pillars of growth these days are people and tech. And anything and everything that's happening is happening around it. Of course, all other elements like your product and your fashion are already there. But what's moving forward and what's bringing the maximum change in today's environment is tech and the people around tech and people with tech. In the last couple of years, the maximum change I have seen is in what kind of hiring we are doing, what kind of skill sets we are building in the company, what kind of trainings we are providing. And everything is to do with how do we make our organization future ready in terms of tech. How do we make a digital organization? How do we make analytics as part of all our functions? So, without any doubt, it's something that is something we have to look for. Tech is embedded in each and every function that we have. Tech is something that we hire for each and every function. Tech is something that we train for in each and every function. Yeah, I think there can't be anything more said than
Somebody
this.
wants to follow up on that, Sharad?
I mean, as she said, this is this is a necessary question. So really, there are no yes or no's. And in fact,
So the question is, okay, let's say it's a
Yeah.
given. What aspects and how do you think the business actually
once again, I'll
changes?
just give you a citation, Devanshu, from my own business, and that should kind of sum it up what's the importance that the company is attributing towards technology. So Raymond, in this year, will be the first company to implement SAP HANA. And no other company, like manufacturing company to domestic sales company, has done it. So that's the level of seriousness. And we directly under the aegis and sponsorship and guidance of Nike Global. So that's the level of importance that we accord to technology. It's changed everything, everything. As she said, right from product to design to sales, everything. So I really cannot stop talking about how many examples we can give. And I think a behemoth investment that we are doing just sums it up. And this will cut across everything, right from manufacturing to domestic. Everything will be integrated. It's a huge expense. It's a huge exercise that we have undertaken, and it's on its way. It's not in planning stages. So we would be the first company to do that.
The issue is when we talk about tech, we somehow tend to think of tech as as an interface. Whether it is a tablet or a phone or a laptop or some computerization which is vague, servers sitting running somewhere. Fashion is about experience, has been, at least for me, and I think a lot of people in this room, fashion is an experiential business for the consumer, every consumer. And I think all of your businesses are actually kind of witness to that over the years. How do you get the hands-on, full-on experience of a brand when you start introducing these interfaces of different types, not only from a consumer's perspective, but even within the business? How do you maintain that experiential gut feel on the merchant's part? How do you maintain the experiential display, let's say, know-how in the stores? And of course, for the consumer, the entire end-to-end experience. How do you manage that?
So I feel that tech, when you talk about tech, it's not about just having a ERP or getting your sales figures on the cloud and getting your data into and Google Analytics or that. It has to go beyond that. The digital transformation actually would mean when you are able to get your consumer insights from retail store to convert that into actual action into your collections or into your sales. That's where the digital transformation will actually impact this. This hasn't happened. I don't think it has happened. But that's where the digital transformation will go to. When we say that Spotify changed the music industry or Uber changed the taxi share ride industry, totally decimated the music in shops and stuff. Will it happen in fashion? Will it happen in retail? Yeah, maybe there could be a brand which will be behemoth as only selling online, nothing else. So many online platforms, marketplaces across the world, so many opportunities. Can that happen? But then it has to have that tech which will support it as an ecosystem in terms of the warehousing, returns, managing. The physical delivery of the product still has to happen. Like in a Uber, you still have to take a taxi and go home on that. That can't change. That can't be digitalized.
Devanshu, you said about the physical experience. I think that, this comes from our world of thinking, how we shopped when we went around shopping. We went to stores and we looked at physical products and we had stores. And today, this whole generation that is grown up on the phone, on the iPad or on the iPhone or any phone on that kind of matter. And explains, the growth of the online stores in such a big way. So much apparel being sold online, nobody sees the clothes. There's a whole generation that is getting used to just looking and identifying, So the idea of having that retail shop experience will transfer to the cloud. because that's where this new generation is shopping. That explains the growth of such the large players, online platforms in this country. They're reaching out to a new crowd. They're making things accessible at great prices. And it makes every pin code accessible in this country. So the convenience, the fact that this whole generation has just grown up on the phone or on tech means that's really where they're going to be. And that's really what I think as brands we need to prepare to meet over the next 10 years.
So basically what you're saying is fashion is going to live a second life, and that's about it.
It's a different experience for us as it is to a next generation. It's completely different for them. How many people do that? They rather sit and watch Netflix and order on their phone than go to a store and sit down in a retail store and walk around for hours.
So guys, I mean, you have...
Yeah, I definitely agree with Nari on this because, I'm lucky that I'm there and I have a son who's a different generation, and there is a big gap in our way of shopping. I'm really scared about Zara's and H&M's because they may not be able to, attract the new generation, which Nari is talking about. My son, he's only 12 years old, and he's following Supreme, he's following Off-White, he's following Palace, he's following Fear of God, which are cult clothing. And it is all through technology, it's all through digital media. And all these brands are sustaining because of low supplies. I still remember, 1.5 years back, I waited 1.5 hours on 24th of December outside Supreme store in UK because my son was dying to buy a hoodie. And I paid through my nose. So there is a different set of future which is coming in. And since we are talking about future of fashion, we have to look into all those aspects also. We have been talking about conventional fashion and conventional way of retailing. That is also going to be there. I mean, the population, we are lucky being in India where the population and the money is so much over here now. So there is a big market, but there is another approach to fashion which Narendra is talking about. So technology is the backbone now. You cannot sustain without it.
Sataj, you have a different
I have personal experience a little bit. I'm also the founder member of Zovi.com, if you guys remember 6 years ago. It was a pure play digital platform. And that time the technology at the consumer end had not evolved so much. So, basically when we looked at traditional format of buying, so it was the moment of truth when you actually pick up a product and that's the moment of truth. The digitalization has actually changed the whole meaning of visual merchandising. So it's more of a digital merchandising now, which has become a moment of truth. So that 6 years ago, with such a less digitalization, no smartphones in place, we were selling around 2,000 products a day, from shoes to sandals to accessories to clothes, unbelievable, and from some 1,300 cities. So I think technology has done that job. The visual merchandising aspect has completely changed. It's digital merchandising which is becoming so important. And the consumer behavior has changed. And you look at, leave aside clothes, you look at food. People are ordering food online, which for Indians is very inherent. They want to feel touch and buy that. So even that has changed. So I think technology has made a lot of...
Sure.
So digital transformation actually means that when we are able to deliver touch, feel, and smell digitally, can we deliver the experience digitally? I think in the coming future, it's heading towards that, and that's where the technology is heading towards.
I think we already have... Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Just one maybe last statement on this. I think when we are talking about technology, probably all of us are maybe biased towards online shopping. So I would just like to highlight, like Shilpi also mentioned, that offline will also be there, right? So let's not remove our focus from there and see that while online is emerging, what do we do to keep that technology, to take help from technology, to keep our brand experiences going great on the offline world as well. So like you mentioned, that how can consumer insights come into play, which can help the store managers or the store staff understand the consumer better. So those are also the kind of things that the brands have to focus on, because yes, while online is evolving and emerging, we do have a big offline industry which we are all managing, and we need to see how technology can marry into that branding experience
And
as
which
well.
you're saying is not disappearing anytime soon.
I hope not.
Okay. Abhishek.
I just wanted to say, definitely possible that this, in 20 years' time or 30 years' time, this offline stores could just go away. Like the music industry, the music shops
has
went
just
away.
gone on. It is.
And it just could be
entirely
possible that the big...
But what I wanted to say is, like, you know, we still sell our clothes online, but, you know, you still need a fashion show to create the brand value. And it needs to be offline, whether it's a designer brand, whether it's a brand.
We're talking about offline store as a place to sell clothes or fashion.
The experience, offline
experience could be totally online.
Is really, yeah, but you still need to create brand visibility through stuff that you do offline, on stores, in brands, in stores, fashion shows. That will continue to remain because you will drive
experiences offline, yes. Activities offline, yes.
Yeah.
But selling... Actual
more
selling
and more
on a
towards
retail
online.
store, is it possible that in another 20, 30 years there won't be any
more and more
offline?
online.
Let's just take a quick take from Abhishek.
I just wanted to talk about technology. See, there are two phases of technology when it comes to fashion. One is at the consumer end, what we are talking right now. Second is at the back end, where we use the technology to manufacture the product or use it at the factory ends. Now, I want to talk about the second part, that at the factories end or in the making, technology is used, and it's being, I think it should be more highlighted at that front. Because right now, sustainability, we are going to talk about it, there are laser technologies coming in, there's less water washes and everything. Those technologies are there, which I think should be, those should be talked, I think should also be in focus.
Okay, so since
you
mentioned it...
Just to add to this, I think we are not even talking about the potential of 3D printing. You know, walk into the store,
perfect. Just hold on to that thought. Okay. Hold on to that thought just for a moment, because I want to lead into the next part, and then we need to leave enough time for Q&A as well. So I'd like you to go to the video, please. Before you go to the video, there are a few slides. If you can just put the slides up. So the theme, the catch line or whatever, the caption of IFF is the future of fashion. And, you know, I very strongly felt that we always tend to be talking about the past. When we're talking about fast fashion, I've told you, 15 years ago I was talking about fast fashion. The model has been around for 25, 30, 40 years, and we're still talking about it, but that's not the future, that's the past. And what is the future, I think, we've got to really think about very carefully. Currently, in the world, there are almost 80 billion items of fashion sold every year, and growing. And when you look at that graph, the US leads the picture, Japan is next, Canada. India and China are still way down. But the moment consumption starts picking up in the same way, you can think of what the numbers will look like. About half of the products that are sold at a discount, at a markdown, which means that they're essentially not needed. About 40% of the clothing is never worn or rarely worn, maybe worn once and then kept aside. This is our industry. Every single piece of clothing can consume as much as 2,500 liters to 4,000 liters of water during its life cycle, from procurement, production, all the way to maintenance, till the time it is cast off. And casting off, this is an American example, there are other examples around the world. An average American family throws away over 30 kilos of clothing a year, 70 pounds of clothing, right? And we've been talking about fast fashion and the ease, the darker side of fashionability. The very reason fashion exists is to have obsolescence embedded in your mind saying this is obsolete, buy the next thing. And this is a huge, huge dark side of the fashion industry, which we all need to be cognizant of in this room. It is the second most polluting industry in the world, after oil. You got to take that in for a bit. From the time raw material is procured, and this includes natural fibers, cotton is one of the most polluting crops that we have on this planet. It's a natural fiber. We're very proud of Indian cotton. US, Egypt, various countries produce cotton, but it's one of the most polluting crops. It's one of the most water-intensive crops. The production of fashion, the distribution of fashion, and eventually the disposal, as we talked about, is really, really worrisome. And if we are not talking about that, we are not talking about the future of fashion. If you look at the average time the fashion product will spend on the surface of this earth after it has been discarded, it is a horrifying amount of time. The plastic buttons, which are made of material which came from dinosaurs and insects and plants that lived 200, 300 million years ago, gets made into oil and then gets made into polyester, which then gets made into a button, and you discard the shirt, and it's going to lie around for at least 100, 200, maybe 500 years, not broken down. Even if you take cotton, which is again, natural fiber, it's going to take about 3, 4 months, 5 months to disintegrate completely. And it's a biological product. I mean, we have lots of non-biological products in the fashion industry. Shoes, the soles, for instance, they're synthetic completely. Nylon is a very common product in threads and so on. So it is something which is worrisome, and I'd just like you to look at this very short video. Can you please play the video?
Buying clothes has never been easier. 80 billion items are manufactured every year.
We're putting too much product out there, most of that product ending up in landfill.
So-called fast fashion allows consumers to buy more, but they're wearing these garments less often and disposing of them at an unprecedented rate. This is where wardrobe cast-offs end up. Savannah Rags is a clothes recycling and processing plant in Nottingham, England. They process discarded clothes from recycling bins around the country. Mohammed Patel has been running this plant for 12 years.
Majority of it will go to Africa and Dubai. We send some across to Europe, and we have a couple of buyers here in the UK that buy from us also.
Globally, sorting plants like this only deal with around 25% of discarded clothes. In Britain, more than 300,000 tons of clothes end up in landfill every year. It's
material being used has gone down. We're now having to process a lot more just to get the same quality of goods that we can sell on.
But how can the fashion industry continue to grow while addressing the environmental need for people to buy fewer clothes? New York fashionista Ijama Kola is less about rags and more about the latest runway fashions.
Because I post often on Instagram, there is a little bit of pressure to have a new outfit.
She's a fashion blogger. Her stylish posts and clothing tips are attracting a big online following.
I found myself before buying a lot of clothes. I usually bought clothes from H&M and Zara or ASOS. If you're looking for trendy pieces, they have them. They're pretty affordable.
Today, she's looking for a new outfit for a swanky industry event. But this store doesn't sell clothes. It rents them. Ijama has been championing Rent the Runway's radical new approach to high-end fashion.
Rent the Runway is a clothing borrowing service which allows you to rent clothes for either 4 or 8 days at a time. You are cycling through clothing as fast, but you're borrowing it with other people, so other people get to wear the same things that you're wearing as well.
On average, only 20% of clothes are worn on a regular basis. Rent the Runway's mission is to change consumers' relationship with the clothes they wear.
Rather than buying something, only getting to wear it maybe 3-4 times before you decide to give it away or throw it away, an item is worn a lot more when it is being shared across different people.
Rent the Runway only has a couple of flagship stores, but online it's a giant, and it's disrupting the fashion industry. To date, there are 10 million members, so it comes with a hefty laundry bill. The company claims to have the largest dry cleaning facility in the world. Rent the Runway is getting more mileage out of items of clothing. It's also helping to tackle an increasing throwaway culture. But the last thing clothing brands want is for consumers to buy less. Except perhaps for Patagonia, an outdoor apparel brand, which sent shockwaves through the industry with this full-page advert in the New York Times on Black Friday 2011. Here in Amsterdam, Ryan Gellert heads up Patagonia's operations in Europe and the Middle East.
The apparel industry has become one of the most polluting in the world. As an industry, we're creating product that people don't need by stimulating demand and creating this sense that if you don't buy it now, it's not going to be available. There's this race to the bottom on price and quality that is an unsustainable model.
Patagonia's philosophy flies in the face of fast fashion. To buy once, buy well, and mend clothing for a longer lifespan.
So maybe doing that in Amsterdam and then figuring out how to share it elsewhere.
With the largest single repair facility in North America and mobile mending services around Europe and America, Patagonia's anti-fashion environmental message has resonated with people who buy into their vision.
Helping our customers keep their product in use longer was also one of the original big ideas of Patagonia.
Between 2008 and 2014, profits reportedly tripled. Patagonia claims it generates revenue of nearly $1 billion a year. Its hope is to inspire other brands to tackle the environmental impact of fast fashion.
If I had the opportunity to sit down with leaders from some of the bigger fast fashion companies in the world, what I'd really encourage them to understand the full impact of their supply chains.
Patagonia provides a glimpse into a more enlightened approach to fashion, but they're a rare example. For Mohammed, the boom in fast fashion has been good for business, but this throwaway culture sits uncomfortably with him.
Sometimes it's soul destroying because you come to work and you just think, is this what we've come to, that the human race, all we think about is dispose of things. The environmental impact on the planet is just colossal, and I don't think we as the human race realize what it is that we're doing just for the sake of wearing a pair of jeans.
In order to tackle the throwaway culture, brands and consumers need to change their behaviors. Industry pioneers are proving that there are viable business opportunities in selling less. Others need to follow suit.
So, all of you would know about zombies, right? Zombies are essentially dead people who are undead. Fashion is a zombie business to me. Fashion as a business, as it has existed for the last 100 years, is dead. We just don't know it. We are running a dead business. If we are running the way the fashion business was being run in the last 10, 15, 20 years, and I don't care how much technology is embedded into it, I don't care whether it has stores or not, it's a dead business we are running. And if we haven't realized it, we are zombies. So there has to be another paradigm which has to come in if you have to run a sustainable business. And when you look at sustainability, this is a cycle which is often talked about. Produce, repair, reuse, recycle. To me, I've selected this particular graphic because to me, reduce is at the center of it. If you do not reduce, it doesn't matter how much you recycle, whether it is, polyester bottles, PET bottles being recycled into t-shirts, or whether it is recycling of old clothes into fiber fill or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's still there. It's been consumed and it's being consumed again. You have to reduce. And after that, the whole reuse, recycle, repair comes into play. So This is my challenge, and I've been throwing it to people for the last couple of years, and I've not got a satisfactory answer, but I'm going to throw that challenge to you as well, to the panelists, and every one of you in this room. Think about it as you go through the next 2 days in this conference and in the further weeks to come and months to come. If consumption dropped to half in 10 years, and it's not a very long time, let me tell you that. If consumption dropped to half in 10 years, and obviously you have to run a profitable business still, how would you do it? So I'd like to open that question quickly for the panelists to answer if they have an answer or thoughts. And then I'd like to open the whole session for Q&A to the audience. So anybody, Nari, shall we start with Nari? Because he actually gave me a clue into this earlier.
I think that you need to get onto the first part of it is keeping it sustainable. Recycle is a good way to start. Limiting consumption in a way could lead to something like that. And you know the brand that we just launched, which was the Alsis Nari sportswear brand, which is made entirely out of recycled PET bottles. It's one of its kind. Brand that could be there. It could be a model for how you would sustain and how you could reuse. How you could cut consumption down is a different question altogether because, you know, in the West, these are all guiding principles from the West, which has seen consumerism over the last 100 years. You know, in a country like ours, consumerism is just coming out. People probably, you know, there are going to be parallel tracks. There's going to be a community that says, I want to save the environment. And the other one that says, I want to taste everything that there is in the world, you know. India is a country of paradox because where it is in the fashion cycle or consumer cycle totally. But I think each and every one can do our own bit to make that happen to half. Of course, there's different business models that will come up for each of them. And, you know, businesses become redundant. Lots of businesses have become redundant in the past. I don't see why it cannot happen to fashion too.
Yeah. Satash?
See, I look at it with a different perspective. It's like, are we eating less? No. Are we driving less? No. So will we stop wearing clothes less? I don't think so. So you need different solutions for everything because obviously there's a boom in terms of population and there are different, our life has become completely different and we are very customized solutions for everything from your refrigeration to your clothes, to your running shoes, to your walking shoes, to your winter wear, to summer wear, sleep wear, blah, blah. So I believe there's always a way out. For example, in apparel, a very small beginning has already happened. This is more related to denim. We do a line called True Blue. So True Blue is basically where we use post-consumer waste for remaking our fabrics. We are reducing the usage of water in denim. So those are the new emerging trends in fashion. So that's how the fashion comes into play. So we are doing away with manual labor and harmful enzymes on our denim, and we are using more eco-enzymes, more machine-driven wash patterns. So I think there's a solution which will emerge, and it's emerging. I don't know how much consumption will go down, but we have to make the whole thing sustainable. It's becoming a very big part of the industry, and it will become. That's how things progress. It's like solar replacement to fuel.
Sharad? Just, I think.
Pretty much what Sartaj said, I was about to say. I think whether consumption will go half or 25% or will it increase, you know, it's very difficult to guess that one as, you know, consumer needs are evolving. I think the solution, at least the pathway to a solution lies with what do consumers do and how can manufacturing organizations as well as selling organizations contribute towards what happens when the garment is either thrown away by physical wear and tear or psychological obsolescence. As companies, manufacturing companies, as well as selling companies, we do not really partake in that responsibility. So I think, you know, that's...
But surely the time has come to partake in that responsibility.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the second part. The other issue that, you know, the real issues that we are facing, so, and I'm sure Sartaj mentioned it, we've also done this, you know, we started to make sustainable lines. Now, what is happening is that when we're making this, you cannot just make a garment out of sustainable so-called certified fiber. You need to have the packaging, you need to have the trims, you have to everything certified. And I'm talking from practical experience. Right now, at this stage, the costs are too prohibitive to do that. Because really, when you mark it up, it is so expensive that the consumer will probably, honestly, will care two hoots for me saying it's sustainable and selling it at a premium. And efforts are still on. And even at our organization, how do we make this more viable for the consumer as well as for the whole ecosystem in general?
So, we could do a whole session on this subject because we'll have various different issues, but one last thought from Shilpi and one last thought from Rohit. And after that, we'll open to the question answers.
I really hope the consumption goes half, right? The world would be a much better place. All of us will be working, 2 or 3 days a week. The industry will be, really enjoying. We'll have so much time for ourselves, our families, no more deadlines, no more sales, and it would be a great place to be in. So, Devanshu, I really wish if the consumption can go down to half.
Let's make it happen. Rohit, last word.
I think your question is that if your consumption reduces by half, will we still be running profitable businesses?
How will you do it is the question.
How is the
How
question?
will you do it? Yeah.
So my answer to that is yes, it will still be running. It's totally in a different place, in a different form, because I'm sure with the consumption reducing by 50%, we are also talking about wastages getting eliminated.
Correct.
When you're talking about 40% of the garments which are sold are not worn, there is also 40% of the garments which are made are not sold.
Correct.
There goes into uses, other uses like recycle. So you could still practically be running a profitable business even if the consumption reduces by 50%.
So that's on that note, unless Manisha, you've got something to add.
I would just like to say when less is more, we make less count. So that's how we will make profitable businesses out of it.
I think that's a wonderful thought on which to end the session from the panel, but I'd like to open the session to Q&A, but before that, a round of applause for the panel. Thank you so much. So if you have a question, we have literally 5 minutes. Please raise your hand. The mic will come to you. Please identify yourself. Make it a question, not a statement. Address it to any single person if you like. Right here, one mic here, please, and then one there. Yeah, here, ahead, right here.
Hi, my question is on digitization.
Could you identify yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Jyoti, and I head a category with shopclues.com. And so my question is, we were discussing digitalization, and we were discussing that experience is very large for all of us, and how fashion, being an experience, because our generation comes from a fact that we felt that fashion was experience, but now the new generation is even more digitizing. But I feel history has repeated itself. And on the point where 20 years down the lane, we feel that, we would have not visual merchandising, we may not have, anything which has got more experience or touch and feel to it, but would be all digital. But would you not feel that we have historically witnessed that people never referred to those music gramophones, but I think they are vintage now. So do you think that that would be even more essential for us to think about in terms of future, in terms of offline stores, in terms of experience? Will that
So you're saying, you're asking whether we should not be so quick to discard the physical experience?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So who are you addressing it to? Anybody particular?
No, anybody, it could be.
Okay, go on.
It will be cool, like how fashion comes in cycles. This will also be retro fashion, where we'll do retro shopping will become an experience kind of thing for small consumers in a different way, because they want to feel something that's different from everything. But I'm not sure it will be the mainstream of what shopping experiences will be.
So you think, like, if I'm an online marketplace today, my challenge is that my prices are extremely low. I compete in a market where prices are even low, and I struggle with that every day. Do you think offline will gain the opportunity of paying a price because it will be very rare, it will be very specialized at that point in time?
It will get niched. It will get niche. There will be niche experiences as the market in the country matures to various styles. Today, we are still on the fast fashion cycle. But as the consumer matures in fashion terms, it will get niched into smaller areas. You're already seeing small niche brands coming into the market, online, offline, Nicobar, Andaman, brands that are coming online, making a statement of their own in different spaces. So you will find an offline experience for them, but on large scale, cost of retail, all of that will come into huge play when an online player does not have to look at any of those costs.
Right. There are two questions over there. Can we pass the mic over there, please?
Good morning. My name is Pritika. I'm a student from IFF Raebareli. So my question is that when we talk about technology in terms of social media, so are there any threats that it poses to the retail industry? Because we have only talked about the pros and the future of technology and social media. So I would really like to know if there are things that we need to be careful about.
Anybody sees social media as a threat?
In what sense?
Facebook?
In what sense?
More of an enabler than a threat for the retail industry. It is what is driving you forward, not bringing back. So just to repeat, I feel technology in social media is more of an enabler for the retail industry, not posing a threat to the industry. It is something which is facilitating more and more information to the consumer.
What is the threat is how data that is collected is used, and how you are being supervised when you give up data to anybody, and how they use it. And you saw it when it happened in the elections in the US and the UK, how people are using social media to do that. But when it comes to fashion, also, it will help in predictability on what you like, it'll get you more opportunities to see what you like, but it depends on you to choose different experiences and how different you want to be, because that's what will happen. It will just throw up stuff that you already liked and probably not give you the width of choice that you want to see.
I think that's a very good point, and I'd just like to add one more point which I see as a threat, which is that people are so busy on social media that they don't actually shop, right? Which is a good thing for sustainability, but that's something to think about. Sorry, there's another question at the back.
I'm Sujata. I'm also from IFF Raebareli. So my question is, we all know that India is one of the major garment export country. So how, if we are talking about reducing the consumption, so how will it affect the export business, or how will it not come up to losses to export industry? And one more question is that how will
One question, please. So choose which one you want to answer. We are run out of time actually.
Okay, sir. So that is my question. Will it affect the export industry?
So, Rohit, do you want to address this because you're in exports?
I think what she's fearing about is will they still have jobs in the export industry once they pass out? Not in the foreseeable future. I don't think it is so fast that it is going to change things so much. But in few years from now, I feel, yes, that online, and there could be a scenario where into 30 years, like the music industry decimated, like the bookshops have vanished, whether the online or offline retail stores in fashion will vanish. I don't know, maybe yes.
So here's my little piece of advice to all the students in the room. Don't tie your fortunes to one industry. Build other skills along the way. Explore. You might find yourself on a farm someday milking a cow. Be prepared to do that. Everybody's got to eat. People may go without clothes, but everybody's got to eat, right?
Devanshu, I want to make a recommendation to young people around here.
Absolutely.
You must read this book by Yuval Harari that's called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. All of you are going to work until you're 80. So how do you measure your life? And what do you see as successes as compared to a generation earlier that worked until they were 55, 60 and retired? That book is a great insight on what you're going to see in the future. And I'm not an agent, sales agent for the book, but one of the nicest books that I have read in a long while.
Okay, one last question, and I think we really have to stop after that. Please just stand up and the mic will come to you.
Hello. Yeah, hi, my name is Praveen. I manufacture bags and travel accessories for a living. So my question to one of you was about sustainability. That kind of question intrigued me about consumption reducing by half and you saying you might have more free time. I feel we might have double the work to do to be able to get back to one. But my question is, Diwali 10 years back to Diwali today, number of crackers is reduced. That's all happening at the school level. So do you think if sustainability as a point is, I mean, if the children today in school, once they pass out, like the 8-year-olds today when they become 18, I feel they're going to be questioning every single thing about fabric.
Yep.
I completely agree, you know. If you saw in the news a few days ago, there was an entire student movement across the globe. And it started from this one girl asking a question in Sweden, aged 14, and how she single-handedly has changed the way young people, children see environment across the globe, you know. Students walked out of school in the afternoon, 12-year-old students walked out of school, went to the minister's home and office and protested and said, what are you doing about the world for me when I grow up? How are you not in? So the pressure is going to come, and definitely it is coming from students. They are the ones that are really making the big difference, the big noise, because more than anything, it's their life that is going to be affected by what we do today. You know? And if we are not cognizant of that, it is going to be hell.
On that note, I think much food for thought for the next couple of days and couple of months. I'm really sorry we are out of time. I know you have a lot of questions, but we'll have to end it here. Thank you so much to the entire panel. Thank you, all of you who are in this room, for contributing your thoughts. And I hand you over back to Anish.